We received the InWin Dubili, and by received I mean that we bought it with our own hard-earned money. We unboxed it, posted a little teaser on the social media, and we saw a bunch of responses from people like you in the comments section saying, you know what you should do? You should make this a Noctua build. And that made a lot of sense to us. Why? Because, I mean, look at it. What part of this does not make sense? So we went on the hunt for parts for this build, including a Noctua and ASUS collaboration GPU, the RTX 4080. Beautiful card, 2-fan card using obviously Noctua fans. Pretty interesting on that GPU. It comes in at $1,600. I don't want to say run of the mill because anything 4080 really isn't run of the mill, but your average 4080 card is gonna come in at around $1,200. So you're paying a $400 Noctua tax for this GPU. And honestly, if you're doing a build like this, you kind of have to. If you're going for not just the aesthetic, but that silent build. Speaking of silent, my goodness, let's get this thing turned on. Can't hear a gosh darn thing. This is a silent build. Obviously we're not under load or anything like that, but super quiet. There were a few things that I did not like about this case, or maybe just some general feedback. We can kind of dig into it. Power supply, as you can see here, there is no shroud to hide cables. That was something that I thought was kind of interesting. You can accomplish a clean build despite that if you do a couple different things. We're actually working on one right now, which would be getting custom sized cables for the power supply made. They're like cable mods. We're looking at doing that so that we can really make sure that this build is as clean as humanly possible. They did include these little SSD mounting brackets that go inside the case. You can relocate one of them like we've done here, right next to the power supply to help hide some of those messy cables. Helpful. Not really accomplishing what we're trying to do, so we want to really tighten it up and get some nice cables in there. Second drawback, as we were building in this on the cable management side of things, if you look right here, these are the only spots that you can zip tie your cables. Would have been nice to have some more anchor points for those zip ties to really make sure that the cable management is clean. We were able to accomplish it for the most part. You know, that was accomplished just by our builders being little saints. If you're doing this at home, just take your time. It's a little challenging on the cable management side, but once you got it, you're good to go. Third thing that I would maybe recommend keeping in mind if you're looking at getting this case for a build of your own, this is just a personal thing. This side panel glass is tinted glass. So when you have a build with all of these Noctua components and you really want to show off what's inside, some tint to the glass, it can cover up and hide some of these things. Depending on the aesthetic you're going for with your build, in this case, we really want to show off the components inside. We're gonna add some LED strips and kind of run them around here to really brighten up the inside to compensate for this tinted glass on the side panel. So something to be aware of with this case that I didn't realize going into it. Other interesting pieces of this case, obviously the little details like these little cufflinks, the brushed aluminum, I think it's 4mm thick brushed aluminum here. This is a heavy case. There's no two ways about it. InWin touts these as handles up here so you can transport your system. Probably not gonna wanna do a whole lot of transporting a build in this case. Now let's talk about the specs in this system. Feel free to copy this build list yourself if you're looking to build a system like this, or if you wanna make it easy, we can build the system for you. Just hit us up at metapcs.com. Starting with the processor, this system's rocking the 13700K. It's being cooled by the Noctua NH-U12A. Fantastic cooler. It's got obviously the Noctua fans on there as well. There are 13 fans in this system in total, including the 2 fans on the GPU. A lot of fan action going on, and obviously for the fans we used Noctua's NFA12x25. It rolls right off the tongue, ladies and gentlemen. These fans are dense. If you've ever picked up a Noctua fan, it's hardy. It's a hardy fan. GPU, I've already talked about it. We're using the 4080. This is the collaboration between ASUS and Noctua. Power supply, 1000 watt from our friends at EVGA. 32 gigs of Kingston DDR5, 6000 megahertz memory, and 2 terabyte M.2. Give you a little storage on there. We decided to use braided cables as well, these sleeved cable extensions. And for the motherboard, we're using the ASRock Tai Chi board, which has these nice little details, these little gears next to the cooler. So that's kind of nice. And they're gold too, so it ties together the whole brown gold feel we're going for with this build. Overall thoughts, this is hands down something that I want to take home. Beautiful. All Noctua is something that you see people mention a lot as like a dream build because the components are very pricey. But when put together and you see everything all in one cohesive package, it really makes sense why that premium is there. Obviously, this is going to cost you way more than if you were to do just, you know, your standard run-of-the-mill build in a case like this. But when you get a case with this much going on, it's less about just performance, and the aesthetics does kind of take hold, and this is a great example of that. Some little minor critiques, mostly revolving around cable management and the routing of cables, power supply, shroud, etc. But other than that, great case. A lot of fun to build in, and if you're doing an all Noctua build, this is a fantastic option for that. You should definitely look into it. If you want to get a system like this or similar to this, we're always available at metapcs.com. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you rock a Noctua build of your own here soon. How about that? Love you. Hey, will you like and subscribe? Forgot to throw that in earlier. Please.